And here we have the difference in walk, okay? Number one is it's much slower. Number two, you know, as I said before, the gym's really helped here with the posture. He's very, very upright. But we can see here the posture is solid, and then the arms come out here, okay? So we've got here, like I said, and then the arms come down. So look at the difference in frames here. Before, let me get the other color. We had Steve's, you know, let's forget his frame, but we had his hands into his pocket, and everything was like this. It was kind of pushed together. You know, the difference, the amount of extra space that he's generated here, that's enormous. Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be doing a body language analysis breakdown of Captain America, or Chris Evans, and we're going to be looking at before and after the serum, so when he was the smaller skinny version of himself, and the version that we became familiar with in Infinity War Endgame, the more stacked, matured, I guess outlier, alpha male, whatever you want to say, version of Captain America. I found these two scenes, and they're very, very similar. Okay, so they're completely different in terms of what's going on in the scenes, and they're in different timelines and whatever, but if you actually look at kind of the story of each scene, the events that are taking place are very, very similar, so I thought we could break them down and do a comparison. So we're going to start with this scene where Steve Rogers gets recruited in the Captain America the First Avenger. And we're going to look at the negative parts of his body language, and then we're going to switch over to a scene from Endgame with Captain America and Tony Stark, where we can see him doing the same things, but in a better manner. It's going to be very interesting. So let's get this clip started.
Come on, soldier.
Come on, you're kind of missing the point of a double.
Okay, so the first thing we see is how reactive he is here. If we just take this back a couple of seconds. Watch how reactive he is here, guys. Like the way that when he gets tapped, he immediately spins round. He's got a look of kind of like fear or shock, if you would. And this just isn't something that you want to portray.
Come on, you're kind of missing the point of a double.
You look at that face there, that almost looks like a prey mindset, doesn't it? I don't know what colour we've got on here, guys. I think let's go for yellow. It's quite dark, isn't it? But we've got the eyebrows elevated. We've got the wide eyes. I've shown you guys this before. Mouth open. Nostrils look kind of flared. It's just the perfect epitome of fear. And the way that he spun round very quickly, that's a tell sign that he was obviously afraid. He was in fear. I think that's why they're doing it.
Date. We're taking the girls dancing.
You go ahead, I'll catch up with you.
See that? He looks down so often in this scene. Watch this.
You go ahead, I'll catch up with you.
So he's looked down once there, okay?
You really gonna do this again?
Well, it's a fair.
He's looked down again, okay? It's not as much as the first one, but we also got, very small there, you know, number one, let me just highlight something. We have these tight, high shoulders, and his frame really doesn't help, you know, in comparison with something like this. But what we do have is these tight, high shoulders. Everything around here just looks tense and nervous. It's just not a nice way to appear. The arms are in the pocket, so everything's tight and in here. It's not cast in the largest frame, whereas if we look, let's say, for example, this guy in the background. Not exactly the biggest guy in the world. He's looking down, he's doing something, you know, which is occupying his attention, but his kind of frame in general just comes out wider. His arms, like even though his arm is tucked to his body and across his body, he's just casting a much larger figure. Even this guy here, this comes out and this arm is by his side, but it comes slightly away. Whereas you get a lot of introverted people that will have this kind of look where they're trying to take up as little space as possible, which is what we can see Skinny Steve doing in this clip here. And then what we get is this shoulder shrug.
Are you gonna do this again?
There, that's what a lot of people do, okay? When a lot of people who are submissive are either either in fear, or they don't want to really express their emotions, or they're uncomfortable with a certain scenario. They'll shrug and raise their eyebrows and just make gestures within themselves. You know, it's a very weird way to act. Let's just watch this again.
You really gonna do this again?
There. When I pause that, I think he's actually looking at the camera, but about 2 milliseconds before this, it's like a kind of shocked look and the shrug of the shoulders. It's not a very good appearance to display. It's almost like when I told you guys before, where you turn your hand up to the air, where your palms are facing the sky, and that would be the other version of this, where you shrug and you point your palms to the sky. Everybody knows what I'm talking about in that scenario, and it's a very submissive look, and so is shrugging of the shoulders.
Well, it's a fair. I'm gonna try my luck.
As who?
And again, he's looking down. That's the third time.
Steve from Ohio?
And also, he got interrupted there by Bucky. You know, that's just the nature of the man. If you do things like look at the floor, keep your hands in your pockets, if you're very tight like Steve is here, if you're raising your eyebrows, if you're doing submissive things, you will get interrupted. That's just the nature of being this type of person, okay? When you do submissive things, naturally, inherently, people will just notice that subconsciously, and they will just say, this guy's not a dominant individual. I can interrupt him. I can do things to him, like when Bucky turned up at the start and pushed him out of the way. You know, people will believe that they can do things to you like that just based on your body language, because it's given off these signals that people subconsciously will pick up on. They will notice that and they will treat you differently. I've had discussions with guys in the comment section on this channel before where they've said that they started doing the body language things that I promote, and people have started treating them differently. They're not talking to them like shit. They're not pushing them out of the way, you know. When they're walking down the street, people are moving out of the way for them. Like, life is changing for them because they're doing these things. And it's a language within itself. You're giving away this impression of yourself that you don't really want to portray.
They'll catch you. Worse, they'll actually take you.
And he looks down again, and we've actually got a head tilt here, okay? So before it was just the eyes looking down, now we actually have a head tilt. In comparison, we've got Bucky here darting his eyes at Steve.
Look, I know you don't think I can do this.
This isn't a back alley, Steve. It's war.
Again, he got interrupted. It's what I mean, guys. When you're looking down like this, okay? When you're looking at the floor in this kind of nature and you've actually tilted your heads towards the ground, if somebody is, you know, more dominant than you, they're holding good eye contact, they're holding a good posture over you, etc. Just look at this image here. You know, if you just turned up here and looked at these two guys, you'd say dominant, submissive. Getting all the girls, getting none. Better at sports, not very good. Like, just certain things would just go into your head subconsciously, which, you know, might not be true. This guy might be a wizard at certain things, but, you know, that's the kind of impression that it would give off. And the impression is also going on in Bucky's head. So he's thinking the same thing, and this is what people do. They see you act like this in real life, and they will treat you like dirt. They will push their dominance on top of you, okay? So you've got to watch out for that, guys. You've always got to be mindful of your body language and the impression that you're giving out to the world.
I don't think I can do this.
This isn't a back alley, Steve. It's war.
I know it's a war.
Why are you so keen to fight? There's so many important jobs.
What do you want me to do? Collect scrap metal
Yes.
in my little red wagon?
Why not?
I'm not going to sit in the factory,
I don't-
Bucky. Bucky, come on. There are men laying down their lives. I got no right to do any less than them. That's what you don't understand.
They've kind of messed up the CGI here, right? His jawline and his chin just doesn't quite look right. It's something to do with the neck. I don't know. Doesn't look right to me. But this scene here, this is the Captain America we all know and love. He's a bit more passionate here, and the reason being, look, his body language has improved, okay? He's holding strong eye contact while he talks. He's speaking with a little bit more oomph in his voice. Yeah, there's a lot more power coming out the way that he's speaking. He's passionate about this subject. We get a little reveal or a little glimpse into the future Captain America here, and that's why Bucky shuts up and listens, because there's a complete difference in his demeanor.
This isn't about me.
Right. Because you got nothing to prove.
See the way he held eye contact? It's a lot better. This feels like more of a man-to-man interaction rather than a man and a boy.
Hey, Sarge! Are we going dancing?
And there, the way that he's gone back to normal there, he's turning around, he's looking who's around him. That's very submissive. I told you guys before, you have predators and prey. Obviously in the animal kingdom, it's very similar in the human race, where predators will have eyes on the front of their face like we do, where they're always looking forward. They're not worried about what's around them or to the side of them. They never really have to be afraid. Whereas prey have got eyes on the side of their head so that they can kind of get a, not quite 360 view, but they have a very good view around them of what's going on. It's probably like 300 degrees, 270 degrees or something. And that's why when you look at, let's say, a rabbit in a field or something, it's very fidgety. It's got eyes on the side of its head. It's looking around itself all the time for what's around them. And that's not very good, okay? It's very submissive, but one thing I want to explain is some people say to me sometimes in the comments, but, you know, I always look around because if I get attacked from behind, come on, man, like, where do you live? Syria? Like, you're not going to get attacked that often. Like, the chances of you getting in an actual fight in this era or somebody coming up behind you and smacking you with, like, a bottle or something, it's just not going to happen in this era. Now, obviously it could, but it's just such a rare occurrence. You can't live your life paranoid thinking somebody's going to hit me. I better keep looking around. You know, now if you're in like one of the hoods of Baltimore or something like that, or Compton, and you're shit scared all the time. Now, I understand that. I get it. But for the majority of the world, this just isn't a scenario that you're going to have to worry about, okay? So it's always better to keep your eyes on the front, you know, your eyes dead center, looking forward. We have eyes on the front of our face for a reason. We're not being attacked, okay? If they were on the side and they were massive and we could see all of our peripheral vision around our body 24/7, then, you know, maybe women, men, whatever you're into, would be more interested in those that were better at surviving, as in, oh, he flinches more, he checks 3 times when he crosses the road, that's the type of man I want to be with, he's going to be a survivor. But we don't, okay? We've got eyes on the front of our face, we look forward, we're dominant, we're predators, we're the most dominant species on the planet. It's always good to be seen looking forward, not around you over your shoulder and panicking about, you know, what's going on in my surroundings. It just looks like it's a fear mindset.
Yes, we are.
See the way you look down again at the end there, guys? This is a terrible posture. Look at this. Here. Okay. So the neck is slumped slightly forward. He's looking down. The shoulders just look as though they're quite slumped and like they're up, but they're slumped, which is very, very weird. And I think it comes from a lack of posture. And this is when you get this kind of rotation in the shoulder where there's no strength and everything just goes inwards, and it doesn't help with the hands being in the pockets, okay? Looks very submissive. This doctor in the background's got a very similar posture. You can see without the suit it would be awful. These shoulders are bending inwards, obviously as the hands are coming in, but it's like this looks tight, but it's sloping. That's what you don't want to have, okay? Tight and sloping at the same time, and the gym will really sort this out. It's a major benefit. But at the same time, you've got to stand upright. You've got to work on some postural exercises. Otherwise, you're going to have something like this. And then as you're leaning forward to compensate, because this is what a lot of people don't know, okay? It's something to do with orthotropics. An extra lesson for you guys here. Humans are social creatures. And the face is here, obviously. So if we start leaning forward from like using our phones and stuff, and we're always like looking down, and our neck is always perched forward, and we end up getting this kind of bend here in the spine and the neck, then as your body kind of rotates this way, the face will rotate that way. That's what the face will do, okay? And you kind of get this ugly appearance where you have like a hunchback, then a forward neck, but your face is rotated upwards, and you get a much larger forehead where it angles down. You see those people with a forehead like that where it really drops down. That's what you don't want, okay? And it's very likely as well the cheekbones will fall down, the maxilla will fall down, and the nose will hook out like this. Like, it just doesn't go well, okay? And it starts with having good posture 24/7 and standing upright, more like this than this.
Don't do anything stupid until I get back.
How can I? Taking all the stupid with you.
You're a punk.
Jerk.
This is good. He's got a hand on his back. He's gone over the top. It's a dominant move. If he had gone underneath one of his arms, it would have been submissive. And the double tap on the back is a show of authority or, you know, companionship in this scenario, but it can be authoritative.
Careful. Don't win the war till I get there.
Come on, girls. Playing our song.
Now look at this, guys. So first of all, we had him looking down when he turned around, but we just let's go on a little bit more. Okay, so we got a couple of things here. So we could see that his head was down, his neck posture is bad, it's not straight upright. Let's try and find somebody who looks better. Like, this is terrible. This is a better angle, okay? This is like a leaning posture, you know, his head is forward, this is all angling this way. It just doesn't look right, okay? You want to be more upright, like this guy over here. Look at this, look at the way this guy's stood compared to this guy. It's completely different. And Steve has that same body language where, you know, he's going to get this curved kind of spine and neck issue moving forward into the future. Just doesn't look too good. His head was obviously down. He was looking at the floor when he turned around. He's got this tight sloping shoulder kind of set up again. Hands are in the pocket. Everything looks very submissive. He's casting a very small frame. You know, if you walk past this guy, you really wouldn't notice him, would you? You'd just be oblivious to his existence. And look how close his feet are together. Like, even this submissive doctor has quite wide feet, okay? Look at this guy, quite wide feet. But the way he walks is more like this, more like a female. It's like a shuffle. His feet are very close together. If I were to slow this down and watch this, you can see that he pushes his feet forward, okay, which sounds normal, but when I show you the next version, I'll just go back again and just show this one more time. Okay, so we can see it perfectly there, okay? His foot's gone from here to there. Well, that's on a center line, okay? And his other foot's going to do the same. It's going to kind of follow that path in order to go off in that direction. Well, he's walking on a center line. It's almost like a woman in heels. Okay, that's not what you want. Whereas this guy, you can imagine one step going there, one step going there. And a perfect example of that will be in the next scene with Captain America once he's gone through with the serum. And you'll see the difference. But let's just watch this play out. One thing he has done well here, going heel to toe, heel to toe. That's what I mean by heel to toe. The heel goes down first and then you walk forward. It enhances your stride length. It makes you look like you have longer legs, which correlates to height, which obviously, as we all know, women do find attractive when it's a singular quality. Okay, so first thing we see, and as I told you guys, we're comparing it with the other scene. It's scary how close these scenes are in terms of the habits, I guess, of what's going on. But what we've got here is he hears a screech in the distance and he turns around very, very slowly. You see that, guys? Watch this. Let's go back a little bit more. There's very slow head movements compared to the first scene when, like I said, he turned around. His eyebrows were up in the air, his mouth was open, he looked shocked, okay? But look what we got now. We got the low eyebrows. We've got the closed mouth. The eyes are obviously a lot smaller. He's squinting rather than opening them right up. He's got this good posture now. He turns slowly. Like, it's completely different, but it's in the same kind of set of circumstances. And notice the way Steve didn't flinch. Notice now as well when Steve now looks away. Watch this. So he's looking at Tony here. That's the only reason he's looking down. Watch this. Now he either looks away into the distance or he looks to the side, which we'll see in a minute.
Why the long face? Let me guess, he turned into a baby.
Among other things, yeah.
See, he didn't look down once until he had to look at Tony, who sat in a car, which, you know, naturally you're going to have to look down. But he looked off into the distance and then he looked off to the side. The previous Steve that we saw earlier would have been looking down here. Okay, he would have looked at the ground when he was getting spoken to. Whereas the new Steve, he looks over here or he looks off into the distance. And that's what you guys have got to practice instead of looking down, because it just feels so normal to look down and feel, you know, submission almost feels good. It almost feels like you're not upsetting anybody, which sounds weird, but that's how so many people treat it. Is they'll look down at the ground so that they're not a problem. Be a problem. Be the guy with the strong frame, with the confidence, with the strong eye contact that others feel intimidated when they're around, or women feel attracted to when they're around. Be that guy. There's nothing wrong with it. Become comfortable with doing that.
What are you doing here?
It's the EPR paradox. Instead of pushing Lang through time, you might have wound up pushing time through Lang. It's
See how much better his posture is here, guys? Okay, he's slightly slouching on this leg, but we can see now that it's a lot more of an upright frame, okay? Don't know if I can draw this too straight, but it's a lot more upright. You know, the shoulders are relaxed. You can see they're down and back. You know, he has this more relaxed posture, but his strength, his muscle strength is keeping it up. I believe, you know, he could actually stop bending this leg and be a little bit more upright, but I think, you know, the scene maybe just went well, so they just kept it as it was. Hands aren't in the pocket anymore. The hands are pushed out wider. You know, he's casting a much larger frame, and he's looking down at Tony because naturally he's getting out of the car, but his head is more upright here. He's not got this kind of forward sloping back and neck posture around here. It looks far, far better.
time, you might have wound up pushing time through Lang. It's tricky, dangerous. Somebody could have cautioned you against it.
Look at the strong eye contact now. Look at the difference.
You did.
Oh, did I?
Didn't break it while he was speaking. It was solid eye contact. There's a huge difference between this scene and the other scene.
Well, thank God I'm here. Regardless.
See, still held it throughout those whole last like 3 seconds and then 5 seconds before that. It's a long time to hold eye contact as well as speaking.
Fixed it. A fully functioning time-space GPS.
The small smirk that I told you guys before. Smirks are just very, very powerful. I don't know why. You know, belly laughs obviously have their occasions, but all of the top guys kind of do these smirks as if nothing's that impressive. Like they show their emotions without going over the top.
I just want peace. Turns out resentment is corrosive, and I hate it.
Me too.
And the other thing as well, guys, he's using less words. So we can see here, you know, he's naturally got better posture, etc. Everything looks thicker, but he's holding that strong eye contact. He's using less words. It just seems like a completely different guy. You know, his chin's elevated. He's not looking down at the ground every 5 minutes. It's a completely different person. I know the actor that actually plays Chris Evans, this skinny Chris Evans, is a different actor, but you know, it still gives you a good example.
We got a shot at getting these stones, but I gotta tell you my priorities. Bring back what we lost, I hope, yes. Keep what I found, have to, at all costs. And
See here, guys? He's okay with silence now as well. Before he wasn't, but we can see here, chin is elevated, strong eye contact, the posture's better. Now you can see the shoulders are back and down. That's what I mean, back this way without forcing them back, but they are back and down. You can see it's much more relaxed. Obviously his arms being thicker and his back being bigger makes a big difference, but we've kind of got this straight upright posture here. Whereas Tony Stark's, he's a very different type of guy, okay? He uses his intelligence. You know, I told you guys before, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Everybody doesn't have to be the same to be considered a top level guy or like an alpha male or an outlier male. But Tony here, he has his hands tucked in. He's clasping one of his hands. You know, everything is inwards, and he's doing that kind of clasp that I said there. He's a lot more fidgety. He's not exactly got this straight, upright posture. You know, you can see everything kind of bends back a little bit more that way. Or sorry, a little bit. The head goes down there, but the body comes back that way. So he's leant back a little bit more. But there are more than one ways to get to that end goal. But this is the one that we're looking at today. We're looking at the typical kind of strong posture, athletic builds. You know, something. I think this body's achievable for everybody. I don't think it's that impressive. It's very toned. I guess it's more attractive to women than something like a muscle-bound rock type of body. I think a lot of women prefer this. I'll do a video on this soon. But then you've got the head held high. It's a very confident way of getting to that end goal.
maybe not die trying. Would be nice.
That's good as well. The way Tony's moved in, he stood his ground. He hasn't flinched. Nothing's changed. Just a small head nod. A lot of guys maybe take a step back, they'll lean back, but his body hasn't changed at all. And this is much better from Tony.
Sounds like a deal.
Now, the only reason he broke eye contact there and looked down is for the handshake, okay? Which, in a way, is very dominant because he's kind of... You know, there's many people that don't know. If they meet somebody for the first time, they wait for the other person to put their hand out first, or they wait for the other person to say hello first before they respond. Sometimes that first mover action is very dominant. If you're the first one to, like, you know, tap somebody on the back and say, come in, or put out your hand and say, nice to meet you, you know, if you're the first person to initiate that contact, it means that you feel comfortable and you're a dominant individual. Good strong handshake whilst holding eye contact as well, guys. This is massive. More men need to learn how to do this in a lot of scenarios, okay? So a strong handshake, as we can see here. Very solid, good solid grip from both men, and they're holding eye contact. This doesn't get used enough in the modern era, okay? A lot of guys will, for example, be shaking the hand down here. Maybe they'll be stood more back here because they don't like the confrontational setup of being too close to somebody. And then their hand will be reaching and they'll just about put their fingers into the hand grip, and this person has a whole hand in there and they're grabbing your fingers, and you know, they're looking down at the floor or off to the side. They can't wait to release the handshake. Don't be afraid to do this, guys. You know, get close, good strong handshake, look each other in the eye. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? See, the handshake's only just stopped there. That's like 4 seconds of a handshake whilst holding eye contact. And here we have the difference in walk, okay? Number one is it's much slower. Number two, you know, as I said before, the gym's really helped here with the posture. He's very, very upright. But we can see here the posture is solid, and then the arms come out here, okay? So we've got here, like I said, and then the arms come down. So look at the difference in frames here. Before, let me get the other color, we had Steve's, you know, let's forget his frame, but we had his hands into his pocket, and everything was like this. It was kind of pushed together. You know, the difference, the amount of extra space that he's generated here, that's enormous. That's a big, big difference there, guys, okay? Now let's look at his legs and the way he's walking, okay? I told you guys before, the skinny Steve was going like this. He was pushing one leg forwards and the other one very close to it. It was almost like a female. Now, this is an effect of low body fat, okay? But this Steve actually has very narrow hips. You know, it doesn't have the biggest glutes in the world. I personally would have trained them a little bit more, but I think they quite liked the V shape that it gives him. I think that's why they did it, because it looks like a superhero. But he doesn't have the widest area here, which is naturally not going to allow his legs to really go out like that, like some of the like Ragnar Lothbrok type of guys that I've shown you before. But one thing that we do see here is, if we play this on in slower speed, so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. Is there, okay? Do you see the way his leg kicked out? When you watch a walk in slow motion, okay, it's very weird. So like I said before, the other Steve was kind of going this way. What we've got now is his leg it started here and it kind of kicks up and then shoots forward. And it gives a much wider stance when you're walking, or a much wider gait, should I say. Okay, so they're the two comparisons then, guys. We've got the exact same scenarios pretty much happening where somebody makes a shock entrance at the start, they react completely differently. There's an interaction between two men, they react completely differently. And then there's the walk-off at the end, and one's walking with their head high, one's walking with their head down. You know, the gait is different, the way that they're moving is different, the way they're built, the way they're holding themselves, everything is different. The slowness of Steve's movement in the second one is much better too. You know, he's not shuffling along, he doesn't look scared, he's moving at his own speed. It's one of the best walks I've seen, to be honest. I think if he had bigger glutes, wider hips, bigger hamstrings, I think that walk would look fantastic. You know, look more like Ragnar Lothbrok. But it's a very good example of how somebody can change. And granted, like I said, it's not the same guy. But at the same time, you can see it's the same facial features that they've edited on. You know, it's movie or not, it's the same facial features. he could plausibly have the body on the left and the body on the right. It makes such a difference building up a good frame and improving your body language. It just makes you feel a lot more powerful to those around you. You know, being comfortable with the pauses, etc., saying less words, holding good strong eye contact, shaking hands, you know, initiating that shake. Little things like that, they make a huge difference to how people around you perceive you. But that's the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it as usual, and I'll speak to you all again soon.